views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome to the Bronx Opera on BronxNet. I'm Michael Spierman, Bronx Opera's General Director, and I'm here to introduce our May 5th, 2019 performance of Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado. For this production, we moved the action of the piece from Gilbert's imaginary Japanese town of Nanki-Poo to the Trump White House press room. Many of Gilbert's original 1885 jokes were changed to 2019 Trump White House related jokes, such as No, you're just going to have to watch as William Remmers, Elizabeth Slaton, Andrew Klima, Julia Snowden, Erin Mole, Jack Anderson White, Brian Alvarado, Michael Caulfield, and Allison Lindsay take you through the paces of Gilbert's jokes and our jokes. This production was directed by me, Ben Spierman. I also made some of the text changes. The set was by Jim Howard. The costumes were by Eric Lamp. The lighting was by G. Benjamin Swope. Video design by Maxwell Bowman, and the production was conducted by Michael Spierman. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy Bronx Opera's production of The Mikado.
is our task, and so we tear off the mask. If you're trying to fool us all, tell us only the things you choose. If it's winter, spring, or fall, you're believing your own fake news. Perhaps suppose this calm can't keep it up all day long. If that's your idea, you're wrong. Wrong, wrong. If that's your idea, you're wrong. If you want to know who we all work for the New York Times. We work on rhymes all for the times. Failing, 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 failing New York Times.
Journalists, oh, won't you tell me where a lovely woman lives who's named Yum Yum? The ward of Coco. Oh, won't you speak? Oh, speak, oh, won't you?
Why, who are you who ask this question?
A thing of shreds and patches, of ballad songs and snatches, and dreamy lullaby. My catalogue is long through every passion ranging, and to your humors changing, I tune my supple song. I tune my song. But if patriotic sentiment is wanted, I've patriotic ballads cut and dried. For where'er a country's banner may be planted, all other local banners are defied. Our warriors in serried ranks assembled never quail, or they conceal it if they do. And I wouldn't be surprised if nations trembled before the mighty troops, the troops of Nanki-Poo.
We shouldn't be surprised if nations tremble with alarm before the mighty troops, the troops of Nanki-Poo.
And if you call for a son of the sea, we'll heave the capstan round. With the yoke heave full, for the wind is free. Her anchors a trip and her helm's a lee. Hurrah for the homeward bound.
Yo-ho, hee-ho, for the homeward bound.
To lay aloft in a howling breeze may tickle a landsman's taste, but the happiest hour a sailor sees is when he's down in an inland town with his Nancy on his knees. Yo-ho! And his arm around her waist.
Then rend the capstan off we go as the fiddler swings us round. With a yo-heave-ho and a rum-a-lo, hurrah for the homeward bound. With a yo-heave-ho and a rum-a-lo, yo-ho-heave-ho, yo-ho.
A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballads, songs, and snatches, and dreamy lullaby, and dreamy
And what exactly is your business with Yum Yum?
Don't quote me. A year ago, I was a member of the Air Force Band. It was my duty to pass the hat for contributions. While discharging this critical office, I saw Yum Yum. We loved each other at once, but she was engaged to her guardian, Coco, a cheap tailor, and I saw that my suit was hopeless. Overwhelmed with despair, I left town. Imagine my delight when, a month ago, I heard that Coco had been condemned to death for flirting. I hurried back at once, hoping to find Yum Yum free to listen to my protestations.
It is true that Coco was condemned to death for flirting, but was reprieved at the very last moment, and raised to the exalted rank of the Lord High Executioner, under the following remarkable circumstances, which I shall now explain to you in the form of three-verse song, without chorus. Our great Mikado, virtuous man, when he to rule our land began, resolved to try a plan whereby young men might best be steadied. So he decreed in words succinct that all who flirted, leered or winked, unless connubially linked, should forthwith be beheaded, 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 should forthwith be beheaded. And I expect you'll all agree that he was right to so decree. I am right, and you are right, and all is right as right can be.
And you are right, and we are right, and all is right as right can be.
And all is right as right can be. Right as right can be. This stern decree, you'll understand, caused great dismay throughout the land, for young and old and shy and bold were equally affected. The youth who winked a roving eye or breathed a non-connubial sigh was thereupon condemned to die. He usually objected, objected. He usually objected. And you'll allow, as I expect, that he was right to so object. And I am right, and you are right, and everything is quite correct.
And you are right, and we are right, and everything is quite correct.
And everything is quite correct. Quite correct. And so we straight let out on bail a convict from the county jail, whose head was next on some pretext condemned it to be mown off, and made him headsman, for we said, who's next to be decapitated cannot cut off another's head until he's cut his own off, his own off, his own off, until he's cut his own off. And we are right, I think you'll see, to argue in this kind of way. And I am right, and you are right, and all is right, Tororale.
And you are right, and we are right, and all is right, Tororale.
And I am right, and you are right, and all is right.
Coco, the cheap tailor, Lord High Executioner of Nanki-Poo. That's the highest rank a person without a rich father can attain.
It is. Our logical Mikado, seeing no real difference between the dignified judge who condemns a criminal to die and the industrious mechanic who carries out the sentence, has rolled the two offices into one. And every judge is now his own executioner.
But how good of you, for I can tell you are a VIP, to condescend to tell all this to me, a mere strolling minstrel.
Don't mention it. I am, in point of fact, a particularly haughty and exclusive person of pre-Adamite ancestral descent. Thus, I can trace my ancestry back to a protoplasmal primordial atomic globule. Consequently, my family pride is just tremendous. I can't help it. I was born sneering. But I struggle hard to overcome this defect. I puncture my pride continually. I am probably the least prideful person of anybody you've ever interviewed. When all the great officers of state resigned in a body because they were too proud to serve under an ex-real estate salesman who has become a cheap tailor, did I not unhesitatingly accept all their posts at once?
And their salaries, he did.
It is consequently my degrading duty to serve this upstart as acting Chief of Staff, Secretary of the Treasury, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Air Force, leader of the Billy Bush bus tour, director of all things tremendously big and tremendously wet, Archbishop of Nanki-Poo, and Bronx Borough President, both acting and elect. And at a salary, a poobah paid for his services. I, a salaried minion, but I do it. It revolts me, but I do it.
And it does you credit.
I would give myself an A+. But that's not all. I'll eat dinner with anyone, even middle-class people, on very reasonable terms. I'll play at any golf tournament for a moderate fee. I'll give 30-minute speeches to Goldman, for anyone, on reasonable terms. I also tweet state secrets at a very low figure. For instance, any further information on Yum Yum would come under the heading of a state secret. Another insult, and I think a light one. Young man despair, likewise go to Yum Yum the fair, you must not fool, it will not do, I'm sorry for you, you very imperfect ablutioner. This very day from school, Yum Yum Will went away and homeward come, with beat of drum and a rum-tum-tum, to wed the Lord High Executioner. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets spray, and they'll cut a dash on the wedding day. She'll toddle away as old of her, with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets spray, and she'll cut a dash on the wedding day.
She'll toddle away as old of her, with the Lord High Executioner. It's a hopeless case, as you may see, and in your free, but don't blame me, I'm sorry to be of your pleasure a diminutioner. They'll vow the pact extremely soon. In point of fact, this afternoon, a honeymoon with that buffoon at 7 commences, so you shall know. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets spray, and they'll cut her dash on their wedding day. She'll toddle away as old of her with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets spray, and she'll cut her dash on their wedding day.
She'll toddle away as old of her with the Lord High Executioner.
And have I journeyed for a month, or nearly, to learn that Yum-Yum, whom I love so dearly, this day to Coco is to be united.
The fact appears to be as you recited. But here he comes, equipped as suits his station. He'll give you any further information.
Behold the Lord High Executioner, a personage of noble rank and title, a dignified and potent officer, whose functions are particularly vital. Defer to the Lord High Executioner. Defer to the noble Lord, to the noble Lord, to the Lord High Executioner.
Taken from the county jail by a set of curious chances, liberated then on bail, on my own recognizances, wafted by a favoring gale, as one sometimes is in trances, to a height that few can scale, save by long and weary dances, surely never had a male, under such like circumstances, so adventurous a tale, which may rank with most romances, taken from the county jail by a set of curious chances, surely never had a male so adventurous a tale.
Defer to the Lord High Executioner. Defer to the noble Lord, High Executioner. Down to the Lord High Executioner. Defer to the noble Lord, High Executioner.
Gentlemen, I am much touched by this unchoreographed and entirely spontaneous reception. I am impressed and very happy that this is the largest attendance at such a reception ever. I can only trust that by strict attention to the Constitution, I shall ensure a continuance of those favors which it will ever be my study to deserve. Let's go off the record. If I should ever be called upon to act professionally, I am happy to think that there will be no difficulty in finding plenty of people whose loss will be a distinct gain to society and help make Nanki-Poo great again. As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list of society offenders who might well be underground and who never would be missed. There's the 27 Democrats all fighting for our time. I watch them with the sound off, so to me each one's a mine. The man who meets a woman and proceeds to huff her hair, which seems a little creepy, maybe more if we are fair. And people who at 3 a.m. to tweeting will insist they'd none of them be missed. He's
got them on the list, and none of them be missed. They'll none of them be missed.
And the full attorneys general who summarize reports, I think he missed the gist. I've got him on the list. The fools who vape in peppermint and puff it in your face, they leave you in a mist. They never would be missed. Then the idiot who praises with enthusiastic tone. All centuries but this, and every borough got his own. The princes from Nigeria who have a mint for you. Just give them all your info, that is all you need to do. And the guy who put a swimming pool into Manhattan's schist, I don't think he'll be missed. I'm sure he'll not be missed.
He's got them on the list, and none of them be missed. None of them be missed.
And the woman sitting here right now and playing with her phone, the angry birds you've missed, I've got her on the list. The people using fidget spinners, how are they a thing? They'd none of them be missed. And apologetic statesmen of a compromising kind, such as whatchamacallem, Thing Bob, and likewise, well, never mind. And tut, and what's his name? And also, you know who. The task of filling up the blanks I'd rather leave to you, but it really doesn't matter whom you put upon the list, for they'd none of them be missed. You may put them on the list, and then none of them be missed. They'll none of them be missed. Hoover! It seems that the festivities in connection with my approaching marriage must be the largest such festivities of their kind ever, period. And I want to consult you as to the amount I ought to spend upon them.
Certainly. In which of my capacities? Acting Chief of Staff, Secretary of the Treasury, Chief Justice, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Air Force, Leader of the Billy Bush Bus Tour, Director of all things tremendously big and tremendously wet, Archbishop of Nanki-Poo, Bronx Borough President...
Suppose we say as Acting Chief of Staff.
Well, speaking as your Chief of Staff, I should say that as the city will have to pay for it, don't limit yourself. Do it well.
Exactly. As the city will have to pay for it, that is your advice.
Yes, as Chief of Staff. Of course, you understand that, speaking as Secretary of the Treasury, I am bound to see that due economy is observed.
Oh, but you said just now, don't limit yourself, do it well.
As Chief of Staff.
And now you say that due economy must be observed.
As Secretary of the Treasury.
I see. Come over here where the Secretary can't hear us. Now then, as my personal attorney, suppose we say like a Giuliani circa 2019, how do you advise me to deal with this difficulty?
Oh, as your Giuliani, I should have no hesitation in saying, risk it.
Thank you, I will.
If it were not that, as Chief Justice, I am bound to see that the law isn't violated.
I see. Come over here where the Chief Justice can't hear us.
Now then, as majority leader.
Oh, of course, as majority leader, I could propose a special vote that would cover all expenses. If it were not that, as minority leader, it would be my duty to resist it tooth and nail. Or, as comptroller, I could so cook the books that, as IRS commissioner, I should never discover the fraud. But then, as Archbishop of Nanki-Poo, it would be my duty to denounce my dishonesty and give myself into my own custody as special counsel.
That's extremely awkward.
I don't say that all these distinguished people couldn't be square, but it is right to tell you that they wouldn't be sufficiently degraded in their own estimation unless they were insulted with a very considerable bribe.
The matter shall have my careful consideration. But my bride and her sisters approach, and any little compliment on your part, however politically incorrect, would be considered a favor.
No money, no grovel.
From school are we, hearts of school co-op can be, filled to the brim with girlish glee. 3 little maids from school, everything is a source of fun. Nobody's safe, for we care for none. Life is a joke that's just begun. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids who all unwary come from a ladies' seminary, free from machinists to Larry. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school. 1 little maid is a bride, yum yum. 2 little maids in attendance come. 3 little maids is a total sum. 3 little maids from school. From 3 little maids take 1 away. 2 little maids remain, and they won't have to wait very long, they say. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids who all unwary come from a ladies' seminary, free from machinists to Larry. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school.
At last, My bride that is to be.
You are not going to kiss me in front of all these people.
Well, that was the idea.
It seems strange, doesn't it?
It's peculiar. Oh, I think it's all right. I suppose we have to start somewhere.
Well, of course, I know nothing of these things. But it's all right, if it's usual.
Oh, it's quite usual, I think. Hey, Chief of Protocol.
I have known it done.
Thank goodness that's over. Oh, I can't believe it's you.
I
haven't seen you in ever so long.
Thank goodness school's over. She's closed her brand and we've come home for good.
I beg your pardon, will you present me?
Oh, I didn't see
One at a time, if you please.
Oh, if you please. This is the musician who used to play so beautifully on the
high line.
Yes. I think that was the name of the instrument.
Sir, I have the misfortune to love your ward, Yum Yum. Oh, I know. I deserve your anger.
Anger? Not a bit, my boy. Why, I love her myself. Charming little girl, isn't she? Pretty eyes, nice hair, taking a little thing all together. Very glad to have my opinion backed by a competent authority. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Go play on the Deegan.
Yeah! Go away, girls. Wouldn't talk to Muller, won't talk to you.
Allow me to present you, Pooba. Don't be sensitive about the size of your hands. These are my 3 wards. The one in the middle is my bride-elect.
What do you want me to do to them? I tell you, I will not use my above-average-sized hands to grab them by the...
not grab them, a little bow, a mere nothing. You needn't mean it, you know.
Never fear. I went to the Sarah Huckabee Sanders School of Acting. How do you do, little girls? How do you, do?
That's very good.
I see nothing to laugh at, especially the size of my hands.
So please us very much regret if we have failed in etiquette. Towards a mannering so high, we shall know better by and by. But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, so pardon us. And don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us, if we're inclined to dance and sing tra-la-la-la-la-la. But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, indulgent girlhood's happy spring be hard on us. But youth, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, 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 tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
I think you ought to recollect you cannot show too much respect towards highly titled few, but nobody does, so why should you? The tune that I should have in sling is hard on us, to our prerogative we cling, so pardon us, if we decline to dance and sing tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la.
But you, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, indulgent girl, must have its fling, pardon us. But you, of course, must have its fling, so pardon us, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, 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 tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Yum Yum, at last we are alone. I traveled for 3 weeks in the belief your guardian was beheaded, and I find you are to be married to him this afternoon.
Oh my God, yes.
But you do not love him.
Oh my God, no.
Modified rapture. Then why don't you refuse him?
He's my guardian, and he wouldn't let me marry you.
But
I would wait until your security clearance came through.
Still, that don't make it right. Flirting will kill you.
Could kill me. But shall I tell her? Yes. Yeah. Should I tell her? Yes, she will not refuse me. What if it should prove that, after all, I am no musician?
There! I was certain of it the first time I heard you play.
What if it should prove that, after all, I am none other than the son of His Majesty the Mikado?
The son of the Mikado? But why is your highness in disguise? And what has your highness done? And will your highness promise to never do it again?
Well, some years ago, I had the misfortune to fascinate Katisha, a woman of a certain age in my father's court. She misconstrued my occasional glances as expressions of affection and claimed me in marriage under my father's law. My father, the Tywin Lannister of his race, ordered me to marry her within a week or perish ignominiously on the scaffold. That night, I fled his court, and, assuming the disguise of a second trombone, I joined the band in which you found me.
Your highness had better not come too near. Remember, flirting is excessively severe.
But we are alone, and no one can see us.
Still, that don't make it right. Flirting will kill you.
It could kill me.
And we must obey the law.
The law can go to hell.
I wish it would, but it won't.
If it weren't for the law, how happy we might be.
Happy?
If it weren't for that, we might be sitting side by side. Like that.
Instead of sitting as if there was a big, beautiful border wall built between us. Like that.
We could be gazing through the slats into each other's eyes. Like that.
Sighing sighs of love. Like that.
We could be sitting with our arms around each other's waists. Like that.
If it wasn't for the law.
If it wasn't for the law.
As it is, we can do nothing of the kind.
Hashtag MAGA.
Being engaged to Coco, you know.
Engaged to Coco.
Were you not to Coco plighted, I would say in tender tone, loved one, let us be united, let us be each other's own. I would merge our rank and station, worldly spheres are not to us, and to mark my admiration, I would kiss you fondly thus. I would kiss you fondly thus.
But as I'm engaged to Coco, to embrace you thus confoco, would distinctly be no choco. If I did, I would be loco.
Loco. Loco. Loco. Loco. Loco.
So in spite of all temptation, such a theme I'll not discuss, and on no consideration will I kiss you fondly thus. Will I kiss you fondly thus? Let me make it clear to you, this is what I'll never do. This, oh this, oh this, oh this, this is what I'll never, never do. This, oh this, oh this, oh this, this is what I'll never do.
I'll never do.
I'll never do.
I'll never do.
Oh this, this is what I'll never, never do.
there she goes. To think how entirely my future happiness is wrapped up in that little parcel. Really, it hardly seems worthwhile. Oh, marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today. Now then, what is it? Can't you see I'm soliloquizing? You have interrupted a monologue, sir.
I am the bearer of a tweet from His Majesty, the Mikado.
A tweet from the Mikado? What in the world could he have to say to me? It's in Russian.
Put it through Google Translate.
I knew that. Here it is at last. I knew it would come sooner or later. The Mikado is struck by the fact that no executions have taken place in Nanki-Poo for a year, and decrees that unless somebody is beheaded within a month, the post of Lord High Executioner shall be abolished, and the city reduced to the rank of a hamlet.
That will ruin us all.
Yes, there is no help for it. I shall have to execute somebody at once. The only question is, who shall it be?
Well, it seems unkind to say so, but as you're already under sentence of death for flirting, everything seems to point to you.
To me? What are you talking about? I can't execute myself.
Why not?
Why not? Because, in the first place, self-decapitation is an extremely difficult, not to say dangerous, thing to attempt. And in the second, it's suicide. And suicide is a capital offense.
That is so, no doubt.
We could circle back around to that.
True. Could be argued in 6 months in an Oval Office meeting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Or Nancy, as I call her.
Besides, I don't see how a man can cut off his own head.
A man might try.
Even if you only succeeded in cutting it half off, that would be awesome.
It would be taken as proof of your desire to obey the imperial will.
No, but pardon me. There I am adamant. As official headsman, my reputation is at stake, and I can't consent to embark on a professional operation unless I see my way to a successful result.
This professional conscientiousness is highly creditable to you, but it places us in a very awkward position.
My good sir, the awkwardness of your position is grace itself, compared with that of a man engaged in the act of cutting off his own head.
I'm afraid if only you can find a substitute.
A substitute? Certainly. Nothing easier. Pooba, I appoint you Lord High Substitute.
I should be delighted. Such an appointment would realize my fondest dreams. But no. At any sacrifice, I must set bounds to my insatiable ambition. I am so proud, if I allowed my family pride to be my guide, I'd volunteer to quit this sphere instead of you in a minute or two. But family pride must be denied and set aside, and mortified, and mortified.
My brain, it teems with endless schemes, both good and new, for Nanki-Poo, for Nanki-Poo. But if I flint the benefit that I'd diffuse, the town would lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
I heard one day a gentleman say that criminals who are cut in two can hardly feel the fatal steel, and so are slain without much pain. If this is true, it's jolly for you. Your credit's cruel to bid us adieu.
I am so proud.
My brain is teems with endless schemes, both good and new, for Nanki-Poo. But if I flint the benefit that I'd diffuse, the town would lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
And so, although I'm ready to go, yet recollect 'twere disrespected I neglect to thus effect this aim direct. So I object.
And so, although I wish to go, and greatly pine to brightly shine, and take the line of a hero fine, with grief undying, I must decline.
And go to show both friend and foe how much you dare. I'm quite aware it's your affair, yet I declare I take your share, but I don't much care.
I must object, I must object, I must object, I must decline. To sit in close silence in a dull dark dock, in a presidential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short sharp shock from a chimney chopper on a big black block. To sit in solemn silence in a dull dark dock, in a presidential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short sharp shock from a chimney chopper on a big black block. A dull dark dock, a lifelong lock, a short sharp shock, a big black block. To sit in solemn silence in a presidential prison with awaiting the sensation from a chimney chopper on a big black block.
This is rigged. I, who allowed myself to be spared at the last moment, simply in order to benefit my native town, am now required to die in a month, and that by my own personal Giuliani. Is this public gratitude? Is this a witch hunt? Is this... Go away, sir! How dare you! Am I never to be permitted to soliloquize?
Oh, go on. Don't mind me.
What are you going to do with those?
I'm about to terminate an unendurable existence.
Terminate your existence? Oh, nonsense. What for?
Because you are going to marry the girl I adore.
Nonsense, sir. I won't permit it. I'm a humane man, and if you attempt anything of the kind, I shall order your instant arrest. Come, sir. Desist at once, or I'll call the cops.
Wrong. If you attempt to raise an alarm, I instantly perform the happy dispatch with this vintage Michigan water.
No, don't do that! This is horrible! Why, you cold-blooded scoundrel, are you aware that in taking your life, you are committing a crime which is substitute?
What's the matter?
Is it absolutely certain that you are resolved to die?
Absolutely.
Will nothing shake you?
Nothing.
Threats, entreaties, prayers, all useless?
All. My mind is made up.
Then, if you really mean what you say, and you are absolutely resolved to die, and if nothing whatever will shake you, don't spoil yourself by committing suicide, but be beheaded handsomely at the hands of the public executioner.
I don't see how that would benefit me.
You don't? Now observe. You'll have a month to live, and you'll live like a show dog at my expense. Good boy. When the day comes, there'll be a grand public ceremonial. You'll be the central figure. No one will attempt to deprive you of that distinction. There'll be a procession, bands, dead march, bells tolling, all the girls in tears, yum, dazed and confused. And when it's all over, general rejoicing and a display of fireworks in the evening. You won't see them, but they'll be there all the same.
Do you think Yum Yum would really be dazed and confused at my death?
Oh, of course I do. Bless you, she's the most tender-hearted little creature alive.
I'd hate to cause her pain. Perhaps, after all, if I were to travel in North Korea for a few years, I might finally forget her.
Oh, I don't think you could forget Yum Yum so easily. After all, what is more sad than a love-blighted life?
True.
Life without Yum Yum, why, it seems sad.
And yet, There are a good many people on both sides who have to endure it.
Sad fools, yes. You are quite right not to be one of those losers.
I won't be one of those losers.
Go hug the flag.
I'll tell you how we'll do it. Let me marry Yum Yum tomorrow, and in a month, you may behead me.
No, I draw the line at Yum Yum.
Very well. If you can draw the line, so can I.
Stop! Listen one moment. Be reasonable. How can I consent to your marrying Yum Yum when I'm going to marry her myself?
My friend, she'll be a widow in a month, and you can marry her then.
That's true, of course. I quite see that. But dear me, my position during the next month will be most unpleasant. Most unpleasant.
Not half as unpleasant as mine at the end of it.
Well, I agree. After all, it's only putting off my wedding for a month. Only, you won't prejudice her against me, will you? You see, I've educated her to be my wife, and she's been taught to regard me as a wise and good man. Now, I shouldn't like her views on that point disturbed.
Oh, trust me. She shall never learn the truth from me.
With aspects stern and gloomy stride, we come to learn how you decide. Don't hesitate, your choice to name. A dreadful fate you'll suffer all the same.
Ask you what you mean to do, we punctually appear.
Congratulate me, everyone, I've found a volunteer.
The Washington Equivalent, here!
It's Nanki-Poo!
Yay, Nanki-Poo!
I think he'll do.
Yes, he'll do.
He yields his life if I'll Yum Yum surrender. Now I adore that girl with passion tender, and could not yield her with a ready will, or her a lot, if I did not adore myself with passion tender still, with passion tender still.
Ah, yes, he loves himself with passion tender still.
Take her. She's yours.
The threatened cloud has passed away. Watch though the night may come too soon. And let the throng advance with laughing song and merry dance. And let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song. With joyous shout and ringing cheer. Inaugurate the victory. Joyous shout and ringing cheer. Ringing cheer. Joyous shout and ringing cheer.
A day, a week, a month, a year.
Life's eventide comes much too
You'll
soon.
live at least a honeymoon.
And let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. Let the throng our joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song. With joyous shout and ringing cheer. Inaugurate the victory. Joyous shout and ringing cheer. Inaugurate.
It's empty compliment to cry long life to Nanki-Poo. But as 1 month you have to live as fellow citizen, this toast with 3 times 3 we'll give. Long life. Long life to you. Long life to you. Long life to you. Till then. May your
It's Katisha, the one of whom I told you.
No, you shall not go. These arms shall soon enfold you. O fool that fleeced my heart, no joys, O blind that seized no equipoise. O rush that judges from half the whole. O beast that grudges love's light is dull. Your heart unbind, O fool, O blind. Give me my place, O rash, O base. Your heart unbind, give me my place, O fool, O blind, O rash, O base. Your heart unbind, give me my place.
If she's a bride, restore her place, O fool, O blind, O rash, O base.
Pink cheek that rulest where wisdom serves, bright eye that fullest heroic nerves, rose lip that scornest love-laden years, sweet tongue that wardest who rightly hears. Your doom is nigh, pink cheek, bright eye. Your name is wrong, rose lip, sweet tongue. Your doom is nigh, your knell is wrong, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lip, sweet tongue. Your doom is nigh, your knell is wrong.
If true is it, your knell is wrong, pink cheek, bright eye, rose lip, sweet tongue. If true is it, your knell is wrong, if true is it, your knell is wrong, your knell is wrong.
Away, nor prosecute your quest for more intention well expressed. You cannot turn us. The state of your connubial view towards the person you accuse does not concern us, for he's going to marry Yum Yum.
Yum Yum.
Your anger, please, Mary, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come.
And join our expressions of glee. On this subject you ought to be numb.
Dum.
You'll find there are many who went for a penny. The word for your guidance is mum.
Mum.
There's lots of good fish in the sea.
On this subject you ought to be dumb. We think you had better succumb. Come. You'll find there are many who went for a penny. There are lots of the sea. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea.
Mikado's tall.
Away you go, collect your hoard, proclaim the war, it is for good.
We do not hear the dismal sound.
For joy reigns everywhere around.
We do not hear the dismal sound.
For joy reigns everywhere around. The echoes of our festival shall rise triumphant over all. Shall rise triumphant over all. Triumphant over all. Shall rise triumphant over all.
My God, it shall be crowned.
We do not hear the dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere around. We do not hear the dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere around. We do not hear the dismal sound, for joy reigns
Hello and welcome back to the Bronx Opera on BronxNet for Intermission of the Mikado. With me tonight are two of my favorite people. They both happen to be tenors. one is Ramon Gabriel Tenefrencia. Did I get that right? I don't think I've ever said your name
Yeah, you got that right.
out loud. Ramon Gabriel Tenefrencia.
Yeah.
And Andrew Klima, who actually, for the first 3 years I knew him, I was pronouncing his last name Klima. So pronunciation is something that evolves in apparently through my mind. Andy played Nanki-Poo in the performance that everybody's watching, and Ramon was the cover of Nanki-Poo and was in the chorus. You'll see Ramon, like everybody else, wearing a dark suit and a red tie and a long red tie with a cell phone, with a fake cell phone in front of him. So first of all, welcome, guys.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Tell me tell me how you came to Bronx Opera. I just want to get that kind of formality out of the way. Andy, how did you find out about us?
Ben, it's almost hard to remember because it's been over a decade, I think. You know, when I first came to New York City, I was singing with Manhattan School of Music in their graduate school program. And at some point, an audition notice came along for Bronx Opera. I was cast in something and it kind of went from there.
Andy was kidnapped by me and my father. My father put the bag over his head. I pushed him into the back seat. No, I think actually that we met with Dell'Arte Opera Ensemble for
that could be
Ariadne,
yeah,
which is now I think that's 10 years ago. I think. And Ramon, how did you come to us?
Well, I also went to the Manhattan School of Music, and my teacher, while I was there, would tell me stories about singing with the Bronx Opera. So the first time I saw that there were auditions for the Bronx Opera, I had to do it.
Who was your teacher?
Neil Rosenshine.
Oh my God, Neil! Yeah, Neil sang with Bronx Opera when I was even younger than you are. Ramon, I think I was 6 or 7. He sang Albert Herring, and he sang Don Ottavio and Don Giovanni, and at least a couple of other things. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And Neil was singing with us in the early 70s. So you see what the lineage. You know, we've had a number of singers that have come to us through him, and obviously you, as a tenor and his student, you really do kind of pay that forward from Neil through you.
Yeah, definitely.
We were just talking about the fact that the Mikado is now was produced more than 2 years ago, and what a 2 years it's been. Can you, and you either one of you can answer this first. What do you remember about the production as you sit there right now?
Well, I guess I'll start because I remember it was a different time. Obviously, we're halfway through, so you know that our kind of concept was politically motivated.
Right.
And so it was a time where there was a lot more uncertainty in the sense that would this kind of era continue? We were kind of, taking our own stance with it. But so I guess on this side of things, we've seen how that's happened. So that's kind of an interesting perspective to be in now, as opposed to when we were portraying these characters. And, I think that obviously our community tends to lean a little bit one way here in the city, but I do know that we did ruffle some feathers with the production. But that's good. That's art, trying to challenge people's beliefs.
This would be even a longer conversation, but we ruffled as many feathers on the left as we did on the right.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but a good handful who really just did not want to think about Donald Trump or any of the Trumpisms as they came to watch this really essentially, this comic piece. And of course, Mikado is about a few things politically. It was written to illuminate some issues back in late 19th century Britain. And I guess I should say I kind of, took those issues and updated them a little bit. But yeah, there were definitely some people who came to the show, and although the publicity made it pretty clear, this isn't a Titty-Poo is not in Japan, so to speak, in this production. There are definitely people who showed up and were like, whoa, what is this? Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting moment there to do this. Ramon, I know you covered Nanki-Poo, and so talk about for a moment about the complication of covering a role when obviously, you did some rehearsals, but we didn't really stage it, quote, on you. So what were what are the challenges of that?
Well, the interesting thing about covering is you get to see it done several times before you actually even attempt it. So you get to see the different versions, and it was so interesting because every version, everybody had their own spin on it. Everyone had their own take on the character. It was different every time. So I got to see not just like gray and grayer or darker gray and lighter gray. It was literally like black and white. Everything was different. And I got to, I had the chance, it gave me the chance to really think of what would my version be and how would I do that if I were in their position. So, and we were able to get to run it. It was exciting.
Yeah, the double cast that Andy, that was also did the performances with Andy, was a man named Jonathan Price, who's as different from Andy as you could imagine. I think actually John based his Nanki-Poo on Don Jr.-ish, and Andy's was sort of Jared Kushner and Eric Trump, and Ramon was just this amalgam. Whenever you got a chance to do it, your timings were a little different, all very funny. We had three really talented guys, three people with great senses of humor, and you really have to have that for GNS. What was, speaking of GNS, what's been your experience with, if any, with Gilbert and Sullivan specifically, or with operetta lighter shows? And how different is it for you from the kinds of pieces that might be called grander, more serious opera? Andy, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, at the time that we're recording this interview right now, I emailed Ben about a different GNS thing because it occurred to me I had so much fun during this production that it's something that, in the future I'd like to do a lot more of. I think it fit me personally really well. Maybe I'm a little bit lighter and a little bit less serious as that goes in the operatic way. So maybe it's just a personality fit. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought I've always thought actually, kind of bringing the music to a larger audience sometimes is accomplished more easily in English, especially if the audience is not as educated in terms of the opera, right? The opera world.
Right.
So it brings down that one barrier that I think keeps a lot of people away. So accessibility for me is huge.
Yeah, Ramon?
Well, for me, this was my first GNS production, so coming into it, I had no idea what to expect. I did my research and everything, but it's a different thing when you're actually doing it. The thing I was always taught was singing well is singing well. So you go into an operetta trying to sing as well as you would be if you were to sing, any of the grander works, or from opera, operetta, musical theater, you try to sing healthy, well, and that's what I, tried to do every single time going in and bring out the character while you're at it.
Yeah, and obviously this production wasn't what you'd call traditional GNS, so in a way it was its own little slightly different thing. But I think you're right, Ramon, that good singing is good singing, and one of the things I was very proud of in our production is that I think we had really good singing through the casts. The chorus was marvelous. I mean, I think that having you in the tenor section made a huge difference, and that's just not just blowing smoke at you, Ramon. It's the GNS choruses are huge. Every one of their shows has a lot of really rich chorus work, both in terms of the music, what they have to sing, but also in terms of the character. What do you remember about playing the chorus role that you played, if anything?
Well, it was so much fun. Because, like you said, the choruses were huge and the music was stunning. And every time we were on stage, it was a big scene. So it was an opportunity for each and every one of us to pick a character and to be in the scene. And, we, at the end of the production, everyone in the chorus, we all had our own relationships. We were all really close. We had fun on stage. Every scene was different. We were interacting like it was it wasn't hard to get into the characters. I loved it. It was fun. It was so much fun.
I know it was the red ties, right? That's what it was. The long red ties. So you both have also been involved in some of Bronx Opera's work during the shutdown and the pandemic. Ramon, you were involved in our Bartered Bride preview, and Ramon is slated to play Vashek, one of the great tenor role in the Bartered Bride, when we do it, which is going to be in May of 22. I can say that. May of 22. You'll get an email saying that, confirming that, but yes, it is going to happen. But you were in this, we put together this preview of it, and tell me, because you had done some singing, to a camera by yourself before that, I think, Ramon, and you maybe were doing a couple of other projects at the time that were similar, but tell me just talk a little bit about what that was like. Singing, we had pianists who played the music, and you had it in your ears, but you really were singing by yourself in a room with I think a ficus tree behind you. So it was interesting. Tell us about what you remember about that.
Well, I remember before doing any of the recording, we knew where on the screen everybody else would be, and the biggest challenge, I think, was to get into character, because I was doing the ensemble. It was a duet and it was a bigger ensemble. So, when you're in person with everybody else, you get to actually hear the line, and then it sort of clicks in your head what they just say, and you can react to it. When you're recording it by yourself, you're sort of imagining somebody tell you the line, and then you're reacting to what you imagine. So it's got its own challenge, because you have to. It's more than just knowing your part and reacting to what everybody else says. It's really knowing every single entrance that comes in, what every single person is saying.
Right.
And that was, it was great. It was a wonderful experience. I loved it. And the product, the final product was amazing.
It really was. It was an incredible kick to hear you all sing together, knowing that you'd never been together. It was the beginning of understanding that although obviously singing apart is not anywhere near as great as singing in person is, that you could do something that could still be really viable and really impressive. So Andy, tell us about what you do with Bronx Opera outside of the singing on stage.
Yeah, so I had the pleasure, I think maybe 5 years ago now.
5 years ago.
Crazy. Of getting an email one day that said, we had a grant to do some work, senior citizen outreach work. Right. And at the time, I still do, but I live in Long Island City, and Riverdale is really far from Long Island City. And I said to Ben, I don't want to do this, but my heart wants me to do this. And I did it. And it's been the single greatest musical experience of my life to date, week after week after week. And I probably am going to start to tear up, because it truly is. It's not a line at all. It's amazing.
We'll say really quickly. Sorry, I just want to get to kind of cut to the chase of it, which is that Andy leads a choir really of between 20 and 25 senior citizens at the Riverdale YMYWHA Senior Center, obviously in Riverdale. And I will just tell you that as much as you love what you do with them, they love you so much it's a little disturbing. They will come to your performances. They will come to your performances that you do with, I think, with us, but not just with us. They've come to your performances you've done other places too. And their first question when they hear that you're in the show is, okay, when's Andy singing? Jonathan Price is, I'm sure he's a lovely boy, but we want Andy. We want our Andy. Yeah. So it's really, I wanted to just bring this up real quickly, just to first of all, to be able to say, yes, when I'm on Bartered Bride is happening, and also to just point out the other things that Bronx Opera does around the borough. That chorus is one of 3 that Bronx Opera runs in the Bronx, and we run with the other choruses are at the Van Cortlandt Jossa Senior Center and at the Marshall and Montefiore Senior Center. We've run them in City Island and Co-op City too. It's an amazing thing, and it really, I echo what Andy said. It's an amazing process to see. It's an amazing thing to see what people get out of it, and just the joy of the music making is really is really incredible to witness, and the energy that goes between you and those folks in your chorus is an amazing thing to witness and wonderful. I'm overusing amazing. I just can't think the superlatives are all there with that. It's an incredible thing. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Of course.
Looking forward to seeing you both live soon. And now we send you back to Act 2 of The Mikado.
Sometimes I sit and wonder, in my wealthy, well-coiffed white woman way, why it is that I am so much more attractive than anybody else in the whole world. Can this be vanity? No. Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature and take after my mother. The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He does exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly been told. the moon celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She borrows light that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. Very wide awake, the moon and I. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I. Yes, everything seems to smile upon me. Today I am to be married to the man I love best, and I believe I am the happiest girl in town.
The happiest girl indeed, for she is indeed to be envied, who has attained happiness in all but perfection.
All but perfection?
Well, hon, the fact that your husband is to be beheaded in a month is, well, in its way, a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, so to speak.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure he'll find it a drawback.
Not necessarily.
I think it's very nasty of you to refer to such a subject on such a day if my married happiness is to be
cut short?
Cut short in a month? Can't you let me forget it?
Yum Yum in tears, and on her wedding day.
They've been reminding me that in a month you're to be beheaded.
Yes, we've been reminding her that you're to be beheaded.
It's true, you know, you are to be beheaded.
Now, some men would be depressed by this sort of thing. Okay. A month. You think that's a month? Fake news. Who says 24 hours makes a day?
Everyone.
Wrong. Let's call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, each day a year. That way we've about 30 years of married happiness ahead of us.
And at that rate, this conversation has already lasted over 4 hours.
Yes, how time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, that's the way to look at it. Don't be sad. There's a silver lining to every cloud.
Certainly, I'm so happy.
Everything is great!
Crying is for losers.
Be best. Brightly dawns our wedding day.
Joyous are we give thee greeting. Whither art thou fleeting? Fickle moments bring thee stay. Fickle moments bring thee stay.
What the mortal joys be hollow?
Pleasures come if sorrows follow.
Roll the tocsins all day long. Ding dong, ding the tocsins, sing along, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Yet until the shadows fall over one and over all,
Sing a merry madrigal.
sing a merry madrigal, sing a merry madrigal, fa la 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 la.
softly creeping, leads only for woeful weeping, till the sad sundown is near, till the sad sundown is near.
All must sip the cup of sorrow.
I today and thou tomorrow.
This the close of every song. This the close of every song. Ding dong, ding dong. Watch those solemn shadows fall. Sooner, later, over all.
Sing a merry madrigal.
Sing a merry madrigal. Sing a merry madrigal. Fa la 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 la. Fa la 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 fa la 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 la. Fa la 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 fa la 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 fa la fa la fa la la.
Go on, don't mind me.
Oh, I think we're making you sad.
No, I must get used to it. Only please, do it by degrees. Begin by putting your arm around her waist. There. Let me get used to that first.
Oh, how shall I say this? Wouldn't you like to go away? It must be so difficult for you to see us this close together.
No. I must learn to bear it. Now, oblige me by allowing her head to rest on your shoulder.
Like that?
I am much obliged to you. Now, kiss her. Thank you. It's simple torture.
Come on now, you can bear it. After all, it's only for a month.
No, it's no use deluding oneself with false hopes.
What do you mean?
My child. My poor child. How shall I break it to her? My little bride that was to have been.
Was to have been?
Yes. You never can be mine.
Oh, I'm so
What? I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
Buried alive?
Buried alive. It's a most unpleasant death.
But who told you that?
Oh, Pumbaa. He's my Giuliani.
Oh, but he may be mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Chief Justice, the leader of Billy Bush Bus Tour, the Bronx Board of President, and the Acting Chief of Staff. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life.
Stop. This law has never been put in force.
Not yet. You see, flirting is the only crime punishable with decapitation, and married men never flirt.
Of course they don't. I forgot. Well, I suppose my dream of happiness is at an end.
Darling. Darling, I don't want to appear selfish, and I love you with all my heart. I don't think I could love anybody half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, sweetie, I had no idea that I would have to be buried alive in a month.
Nor I. It's the first I've heard of it.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does, certainly.
And burial alive is such a stuffy death.
I call it an ugly death.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. I see my difficulty. If I insist on you carrying out your promise, I doom you to a hideous death. If I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's a howdy-do, if I marry you. When your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do, here's a howdy-do.
Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding, let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess.
Here's a state of things. To her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion. Burial it brings. Here's a state of things. Here's a state of things.
With a passion that's intense, I worship and adore. But the laws of common sense we ought to ignore. If what she says is true, it's death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things. A pretty state of things. Here's a howdy. Here's a howdy-do. For if what I says is true, I cannot marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do.
My friend, I'm very sorry for you.
Well, thanks, my friend. I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
Oh, I can see that.
Can't conceive of anything more distressing than having one's marriage broken off at the last moment. But you shan't be disappointed of a wedding cake. You shall eat mine.
Oh, that's awfully nice of you, but it's impossible.
Why so?
Today, I die.
What do you mean?
I can't live without Yum Yum. This afternoon, I perform the Happy Dispatch.
Oh, no, we already discussed this. I can't allow that.
Why not?
Damn it all. You're under contract to die at the hands of the public executioner in a month's time. If you kill yourself, what's to become of me? Why, I shall have to be executed in your place.
It would certainly seem so.
Now then, Mr. Mayor, what is it?
The Mikado and his posse are approaching the city and will be here in 10 minutes.
The Mikado? He's coming to see whether his orders have been carried out. Now look here, this is getting serious. A bargain's a bargain, and you really mustn't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honor and a gentleman, you are bound to die ignominiously at the hands of the public executioner.
Very well, behead me.
What, now?
Yes, certainly, at once.
Lock her up! Lock her up! Who said that? Chop it off, Coco. Chop it off.
Sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. Why? I've never even killed a fly.
Still, as Lord High Executioner...
Sir, as Lord High Executioner, I've got to behead him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I'm going to take lessons. I mean to begin with a guinea pig, and work my way through the animal kingdom until I come to a second trombone. Why? As a humane man, you don't think I'd have accepted the post of Lord High Executioner if I hadn't thought the duties purely nominal. I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody!
Oh, my poor pal. We all have unpleasant tasks at times. If I don't mind, why should you? Remember, sooner or later, it must be done.
Must it? I'm not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I kill you when making an affidavit that you've been executed would do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses. Chief Justice, the Attorney General, leader of the Billy Bush Bus Tour, the Bronx Borough President, and the head janitor.
Where are they?
There they are. They'll all swear to it. Won't you?
Am I to understand that all us high officers of state are required to perjure ourselves to ensure your safety?
Why not? You'll be grossly insulted as usual.
Will the insult be in cash or by check?
It will be direct deposit.
Well, it's good practice. Very good. Choose your fiction and I'll endorse it.
But, gentlemen, I tell you, life without yum
Oh,
yum!
yum! To hell with yum yum! Here, Commissioner, go and fetch yum yum. Take yum yum and marry yum yum, only go away and never come back again. Here she is. Yum yum, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You've 5 minutes to spare?
Yes.
Then go along with His Grace, the Archbishop of Nanki-Poo. He'll marry you at once.
Oh, but if I am to be
No
married,
ask questions, only do as I tell you, and Nanki-Poo will explain all.
But one moment,
Not a chance! Here comes the Mikado. No doubt to ascertain whether I'd obeyed his decree, and if he finds you alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I beheaded you. Close thing that, for here he comes.
Reading tweets and reading tweets and reading tweets. Reading tweets and reading tweets and reading tweets. Reading tweets and reading tweets. Still more tweets and still more tweets and still more tweets and still more tweets. Still more tweets and still more tweets and still more tweets. Still more tweets and still more tweets.
From every kind of man obedience I expect. I'm the emperor of the world,
And I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He'll marry his son, he's only got one, to his daughter-in-law elect.
my morals have been declared particularly correct.
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
In a fatherly kind of way, I govern each tribe and sect, or cheerfully own my sway and
Except his daughter-in-law elect, as tough as a bone with a will of her own, is his daughter-in-law elect.
my nature is love and like my freedom from all defect.
He's insignificant quite compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
A more humane Mikado never did in the world exist. To nobody second, I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavor to make, to some extent, each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime, I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. All wordy, prosy, subway preachers who always tick you off, must stand before sinister Bolshevik ministers with Kalashnikovs. The terrible tenor whose vocal offenses are due to nozzle clogs shall during off hours exhibit his powers to skulls of Pavlov's dogs. The men who tie their ties too long, just like the commissar, must drink a Bellini or vodka martini from a rusty samovar. The paid assassin who misses a target or throws away his shot, it's borscht that is rotten and then is forgotten, like disgraced cows cannot. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
The subway dentist who promises places for mesdames and messieurs will soon be redacted, his teeth all extracted by terrified amateurs. The modern composer is made to listen to classical telethons of Bach interwoven with Brahms and Beethoven. For him it's a tonal pogrom. The billiard shark who anyone catches, his doom's extremely mean. He's meant to dwell in a dungeon cell, in a spot that's gulag clean, and there he plays extravagant matches observed by Russian dolls on a cloth untrue with a twisted cue and elliptical billiard balls. Elliptical balls! Nothing. Thoughts and prayers. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
I am honored in being permitted to welcome Your Majesty. I guess the object of Your Majesty's visit, your wishes have been attended to. The execution has taken place.
Ah, you've had the execution, have you?
Yes. The coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
And this is certificate of death. At Nanki-Poo. Пожалуйста. Простите. Nanki-Poo. Witnessed by Acting Chief of Staff, Secretary of the Treasury, Chief Justice, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Air Force, Archbishop of Nanki-Poo, Bronx Borough President, and leader of the Billy.
They were all there, Your Majesty. I counted them myself.
Good house. Отличная работа. I wish I'd been on time for performance.
A tough fellow he was, too. A man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It was really a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his well-tailored suit, and on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and goggled, I drew my snickersnee, my snickersnee.
What?
Oh, never
never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he, as I gnashed my teeth when from its sheath I drew my snickersnee.
We know him well, he cannot tell untrue or groundless tales. He always tries to utter lies, and every time he fails.
He shivered and shook as he gave the sign for the stroke he didn't deserve. When all of a sudden his eye met mine, and it seemed to brace his nerve. For he nodded his head and kissed his hand, and he whistled an air did he, as the saber true cut cleanly through his cervical vertebrae. His vertebrae.
Yeah.
When a man's a whirl, a beautiful girl is a thrilling sight to see. And it's oh, I'm glad that moment sad was soon by sight of me.
A terrible tale you can't assail, with truth it quite agrees. Her taste exact, for faultless facts, amounts to one disease.
Now though you'd have said that head was dead, what's on a dead was he? It stood on its neck with a smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent offhand not, but as touching as could be. One clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree. And it's so I vow this deathly bow was a touching sight to see. Though trunkless yet, it couldn't forget the deference due to me.
The haughty youth, he speaks the truth whenever he finds it pays. And in this case, it all took place exactly as he says. Exactly as he says.
Bistro!
All this very interesting, and I would like to have seen it. However, we're coming on totally different matter. A year ago, my son, the heir to the throne, bolted from imperial court.
Indeed. Had he any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him, yet he fled.
I am surprised that he should have fled from one so, lovely.
Oh, that's not true.
No.
So, you hold that I am not beautiful because I wear pantsuits. But you know nothing. You are still unenlightened. Learn then. It is not in the style of dress alone that beauty is to be sought. The cut is unattractive.
It is.
But I have a left shoulder blade that is a miracle of loveliness. People come miles to see it. My right elbow holds a fascination few can resist.
Allow me.
It may be viewed Tuesdays and Fridays, register online only. As for my circulation, it's the largest in the world.
And yet he fled.
That. And now is hiding in this town like Ptah, disguised as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
That. Would it be too much trouble if I asked you to produce him? He goes by the name of
Nanki-Poo.
Nanki-Poo.
It's quite easy. That is, it's rather difficult. In point of fact, he's gone abroad.
Gone abroad? His address?
Trump Tower.
What is matter?
See here, his name, Nanki-Poo, beheaded this morning. Oh, where shall I find another? Where shall I find another?
Oh, Боже мой, this is very annoying. My friend, in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir to the throne.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology.
I desire to associate myself with that expression of regret.
We really hadn't any clue.
Of course you hadn't. How could you? Come, friends, don't be sad. Не плачь. It was no fault of yours. If a man of exalted rank chooses to disguise himself as a second trombone, he must take the consequences. It really distresses me to see you take on so. I'm no doubt he thoroughly deserved it all he got.
We are infinitely obliged, Your Majesty.
Much obliged, Your Majesty.
Very much obliged, Your Majesty.
Obliged? Ничего страшного. Don't mention it. How could you tell?
No, of course we couldn't tell who he really was.
It wasn't written on his forehead, you know.
It might have been on his pocket handkerchief, but this isn't the 1880s. Oh, God!
I forget the punishment for causing the death of heir apparent.
Punishment?
Da! Something lingering with boiling oil, I fancy. Something of that sort. I think it has boiling oil in it, but am not sure. I know it is something humorous but lingering, with either boiling oil or
melted lead.
Melted lead. Come, friends, don't worry. I'm not a bit angry. I'm not a bit angry.
If Your Majesty would accept our assurance, we had no idea.
Of course.
I knew nothing about it.
I wasn't there.
That's the pathetic part of it. As the law is written, it states, causing the death of heir apparent. There is not a word about a mistake. Niet.
Niet.
Or not knowing. Niet.
Yet.
Or having no clue. Niet. Or not being there. Niet.
Niet.
There should be, of course, that.
Da.
But there isn't.
Yes.
That's the slovenly way with which these laws are always written. Gridlock. However, cheer up. I'll have it altered.
Huh?
Next session. Now, let us see about your execution. We'll have to brunch suit you. Can you wait till then?
Oh, yes.
We can wait till then.
Then we'll make it after brunch.
I don't want any brunch.
I really am very sorry for you all, but it's an unjust world, and virtue is triumphant only in theatrical performances.
See how the fates their gifts a lot. For A is happy, B is not, yet B is worthy, I dare say, of more prosperity than A.
Is B more worthy?
I should say he's worth a great deal more than A. Yet
A is happy, oh so happy, laughing ha ha, chaffing ha, lecture quaffing ha ha ha, ever joyous in their way, happy undeserving A, ever joyous in their way, happy undeserving A. If I were fortune, which I'm not, B should enjoy A's happy lot, and A should die in misery. That is assuming I am B.
But should A perish,
That should be, of course, assuming I am B. B should be happy, oh so happy, laughing ha ha, chaffing ha ha, nectar coughing ha ha ha, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B.
Well, here's another fine mess you've got us into with your nodding head and deference due to a man of pedigree.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise bald and unconvincing narrative.
Corroborative detail. Corroborative fiddlesticks!
And you're just as bad as he is with your cock and bull stories about catching his eye and his whistling in air, but that's so like you. You must put in your oar.
But how about your big right arm?
Yeah, and your snickersnee.
Well, never mind that now. There's only one thing to be done. Nanki-Poo hasn't started yet. He must come to life again at once. Here he comes. Nanki-Poo, I've good news for you. You're reprieved.
Oh, but it's too late. I'm a dead man, and I'm off for my honeymoon.
Nonsense! A terrible thing has just happened. It seems you're the son of the Mikado.
Yes, but that happened some time ago.
Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here, and with Katisha.
My father, and with Katisha?
Yes, and he wants you particularly.
So does she.
Oh, but he's married now.
Bless my heart, what has that got to do with it?
Katisha claims me in marriage, but I can't marry her because I'm married already. Consequently, she will insist on my execution, and if I'm executed, my wife will have to be buried alive.
You see our difficulty, don't you?
Yes, I don't know what's to be done.
There's one chance for you. If you could persuade Katisha to marry you, she could come. I could come to life without any fear of being put to death.
I marry Katisha?
I really think it's our only course.
But my good girl, have you seen her? She is a nasty woman.
Oh, that's only her pantsuit. She has a left elbow which people come miles to see.
I am told that her right heel is much admired by connoisseurs.
My good sir, I decline to pin my heart upon any lady's right heel.
It comes to this. While Katisha is single, I prefer to be a disembodied spirit. When Katisha is married, existence will be as welcome as the flowers in spring. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, breathe promise of merry sunshine. As they merrily dance and they sing, tra-la, we welcome the hope that they bring, tra-la, of a summer of roses and wine, of a summer of roses and wine. And that's what we mean when we say that a thing is welcome as flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, the flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, have nothing to do with the case. I've got to take under my wing, tra-la, a most unattractive old thing, tra-la, with a caricature of a face, with a caricature of a face. And that's what I mean when I say or I sing. To hell with the flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, to hell with the flowers of spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la.
Alone and yet alive. Oh, sepulchre, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Without the peace that death alone can give, my doom to wait, my punishment to live. Hearts do not break, they sting and ache, for old love's sake, but do not die. For with each breath they long for death, as witnesseth the living eye. The living eye. thou stay on? Why linger here where all is dream?
Katisha!
The miscreant who robbed me of my love. But vengeance pursues, they are heating the cauldron.
Katisha, behold, a suppliant at your feet! Katisha, mercy!
Mercy? Had you mercy on him? See here, you have slain my love. He did not love me, but he would have loved me in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. Now he is dead. And where shall I find another? Am I to go through the weary round again and at the same time implore mercy for you who has robbed me of my prey? I mean, my pupil, just when his education was at the point of completion? Oh, where shall I find another?
Here! Here!
What?
Katisha, for years I have loved you with a white-hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Ah! Shrink not from me. If there is any mercy in your heart, turn not away from a lovesick suppliant whose every fiber thrills at your tiniest touch. True, it is that under a poor mask of disgust, I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fire will not be smothered. It defies all attempts at extinction, and breaking forth all the more eagerly for its long restraint, it declares itself in words that will not be weighed, that cannot be schooled, that should not be too severely criticized. Katisha, I dare not hope for your love, but I will not live without it. Darling!
You, whose hands still reek with the blood of my betrothed, dare to speak words of passion to the woman you have so foully wronged?
I do. Accept my love or I perish on the spot.
Go to! Who knows so well as I that no one ever yet died of a broken heart?
You know not what you say. Listen. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And I said to him, Dicky bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, willow, tit willow, tit willow.
He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit willow, tit willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. He sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave, and an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, tit willow, tit willow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim as I die. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
All on account of a cruel little hen?
Yes.
Poor little guy.
It's an affecting tale, and quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
His devotion was something extraordinary.
Poor little guy. And if I refuse you, will you go and do the same?
At once!
No, you mustn't. Anything but that. Oh, I am a silly little goose.
You are a very stable genius.
And you won't hate me just because I'm a little teeny weeny wee bit bloodthirsty, will you?
Katisha, is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness?
My idea exactly. There is beauty in the bellum of the blast. There is grandeur in the growling of the gale. There is eloquence abhorring when the lion is roaring and the tiger is the lashing of his tail.
Yes, I like to see a tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when the lashing of his tail.
Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dogs. But to him who's scientific, there is nothing that's terrific in the falling of a flight of thunderbolts.
Yes, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts. If that is so, sing dairy down dairy, it's evident there your tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry your toddling tarry till day is done. There's beauty in the old age, that you will be enough. Information I'm requesting on a subject interesting is the maiden all the better when she's tough.
Oh, what this might mean when it's the general opinion that you last a little longer when she's tough.
Old enough to matter, do you think? Would you wait until you're 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic in a room, and that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed?
To the matter that you mention, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed.
If that is so, sing dairy down dairy, it's evident for your taste are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry your toddling tarry till day is done. If that is so, sing dairy down dairy, it's evident for your taste are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry your toddling tarry till day is done. Sing dairy down dairy, we'll merrily merry your toddling tarry till day is done.
Moscow mules and are quite ready. Have all the painful preparations been made?
Majesty, all is prepared.
Then bring forth the unfortunate gentleman and his two well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
Mercy! Mercy! Mercy for Coco! Mercy for pity's sake! Mercy even for Pooh-Bah!
Prostite, I didn't quite catch that.
Mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
Mercy! My husband that was to have been is dead, and I've just married this miserable object.
We were married before the registrar.
I am the registrar.
I see. But my problem is that, as you have slain the heir apparent, that it is
The heir apparent is not slain.
Oh, Bozhe moi, my son.
His daughter-in-law,
Traitor! You have deceived me!
Oh, yes, you are entitled to a little bit of an explanation, but I think he will give it to you better whole than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it's like this.
That?
It is true I stated I killed Nanki-Poo.
Yes, with most affecting particulars.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to a bald and
Will you refrain from putting in your oar? Your Majesty, it's like this. When Your Majesty says, let a thing be done, it's as good as done, because Your Majesty's will is law. Your Majesty says, kill a gentleman, and a gentleman is told off to be killed. Consequently, that gentleman is as good as dead. Practically, he is dead. And if he is dead, why not say so?
I see. Очень хорошо. Nothing could possibly be more satisfactory.
For he's gone and married Yum Yum. Yum Yum. Gone and go please marry, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come.
Enjoy their expressions of pity.
On this subject I pray you be dumb. Your notions, though many, are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is mum. You've a very good bargain in me.
On this subject you want to be dumb. We think you had better succumb. You find there are many who wait for a penny, There are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea.
When cloud has passed away, what golden night may come too soon. And let the throng join us with laughing song and merry. Let the throng join us with laughing song and merry. With laughing song and merry. With laughing song.